Hello beautiful souls, welcome to another Soul Sanctuary episode. In today's episode we are going to dive into the archetype of the Saboteur. The inner Saboteur is also known as your inner critic. The one that actually talks you out of your dreams, the one that talks you out of making the first steps towards achieving something new. It is very interesting to learn about this energy within yourself because the inner critic actually exposes all of your fears. The inner critic can come out in different ways. For example, you're trying something new, you're starting to get a bit more of your out of your comfort zone, and suddenly this voice in your head says, you're not good enough. It's not perfect. Are you sure you want to do this? Is this good enough? This voice is putting all of these doubts in your mind. What I'm learning on this journey is that it's not so much about silencing this voice, but it's about observing this voice and when it is showing up, because the inner saboteur, your inner critic, is actually here to help you see your biggest fears. And if you're not scared to look at this part of yourself, it's actually trying to make you aware of where you are still playing small. So in which areas of your life you're still playing small, and in which areas of your life are you really believing these limiting thoughts in your head. That's the beauty of it, that it shines light on your deepest fears, and oftentimes our deepest fears are linked to our deepest desires, because we either have two options. We have an option to believe these limiting beliefs about ourselves and not show up in the way that we want to show up, or we shine light on our fears, let that be fuel to actually pursue what we want to pursue. So I feel it's very important to not silence your inner saboteur, but to be aware when it comes up and to get to know how your inner saboteur works and what it tries to tell you of, or what it tries to talk you out of. So the shadow side of the inner saboteur has to do with the fear of change. Because who would we be without our biggest fears? How would we show up in the world? For example, I could never do these types of videos if I was putting thoughts in my head about who am I? No one is listening to me. You know what I mean? So this part of us really comes from a place of a low self-esteem. And everybody, to a certain extent, has to go through this at a certain point in time, especially when you want to pursue your dreams and you want to live a life that feels close to your heart. So a good thing to do is not run away from your inner saboteur, but actually recognize that it is part of you, and it's not here to be your worst enemy. It's actually here to be your friend. 3 signs your inner saboteur is running the show. One sign could be that we're shying away from big opportunities. It's almost like the opportunity is coming our way, but we're not actually taking the responsibility to take action. And a reason could be why we don't take action is because we don't feel good enough, or we feel not ready yet. Sign 2. You neglect your inner voice. You neglect your intuition because you know damn well what to do, but you're actually not taking action on it. Sign 3. You're making a lot of excuses why it's not possible to do something. So you're kind of like procrastinating a lot and you're not taking action. So for me, what I see is that the inner saboteur has this way of preventing you from taking action, taking the right action, taking inspired action, and leaning into the trust within yourself that you're actually capable of doing that thing that you want to do. So our inner saboteur becomes our biggest enemy when we let it run the show. We actually let our fears run the show because we're scared to take responsibility for our own lives. Because what would happen if we really take the responsibility for our own lives? The way I see the inner saboteurs at play is that it's actually preventing you from taking inspired action. And inspired action really comes from your heart. It is that one thing that you feel like you need to be doing, but you are kind of diving into the fears. But the practice here and the self-mastery is to shine light on these fears and to take steps either way. Because sometimes it's almost like, yeah, things need to be easy in order for me to just do it, but I don't feel that it's that way. Sometimes you really have to lean into the feeling of uncomfortableness to be able to know how it feels on the other side, to know how it feels like to kind of bust through our fears and diminish our fears. Because the moment where we step up, the less power our fears have over us. The important thing that we can ask ourselves is, what are the 3 biggest fears that has the most authority over my life? Like, what kind of fears are still running the show, and how are these fears showing up in my life? Biggest shadow side of the inner saboteur is the fear for change. What you can do when you desire change and when you feel like you're stepping into that great unknown, for example, is to take really small steps. Don't take something big, but actually start implementing small changes, because the small changes actually lead up. They have this momentum to be part of that big change that you're actually desiring for yourself. I feel it's also so important on this journey of, you know, exploring more parts of the self, that you also bring a certain kind of self-compassion, that you bring compassion to yourself, because the voice of the inner critic is so judgmental. It thinks in so much fear and shoulda, woulda, coulda. And when you're on this journey of, you know, diving deep within yourself, it's so important to be more loving towards yourself, because anytime when you judge yourself and you judge others, you're kind of like are not lovable towards yourself. So in order to bring more love towards yourself and towards others is to really bring a sense of compassion to yourself. So whenever you find yourself in a state of, hey, I'm judging myself, how would you treat your best friend? Would you speak to her a certain way, or would you speak to him a certain way? I don't think so. So when you really are gonna dive into these parts, observe these thoughts, but don't dwell on it too long. Like, observe them, pay attention to them, but you don't always need to act upon it. You can really sit with yourself and bring compassion to this area. So whenever a thought arises, say, hey, I see you, but I have love and I have compassion for you, for this part of me that just tries to keep me safe. But maybe this part feels a bit misunderstood, and it's up to yourself to bring awareness and bring love to these spaces. I hope this video was of any value for you, to dive more deeper into this subject with yourself and have this kind of exploration with yourself. I made a guide, a Befriending Your Inner Saboteur guide, and it has journaling questions. It is down below in the comment section, so if you're interested in diving deeper within yourself, you can download it for free, and I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your feedback and how you are going with it. So remember, it's not about silencing, it's about befriending this saboteur within you and realizing that the saboteur is here to actually guide you into the right direction and not kind of take you off your path. It's actually here to light up your path, to see where it is that you're still playing small and where it is that you actually crave for change. You crave to step out of your comfort zone. Last thing that I want to share with you is this quote from Marianne Williamson. And I really love this quote because it always is reminding me of, you know, yeah, I may have my own fears, but I also have this drive to face my fears and step out of the comfort zone. So yeah, expansion is a big part that is lighting up the shadow sides. Okay, let's go. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We ask ourselves, who am I to be? Brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. We all are meant to shine as children do. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same.